All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. March 29th, and we got a big ol' NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, keep an eye on the pinned comment. That is where all of my final plays will live. In terms of yesterday, night, we go 1 and 2. The good news is that Kristaps Porzingis over 1.5 threes was our only full unit play on the slate, but it was a minus 150 super juiced play. But yeah, Malik Beasley, couple flyer plays there did not come through for us. But again, good to at least hit that Kristaps play. It was a full unit play. The news doesn't get any better. The ride of the day comes up short. We had BX with Brook Lopez over 1.5 threes made. Brook, I believe, goes 1 of 4 from 3, so the volume wasn't even there, even though I did like the spot here. So unfortunately, the ride of the day does not come through. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me some bangers of plays. I'm jumping on board with one person's play, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Also shouting you out over on my social medias. Make sure to follow me there at EvPicks, Picks with a Z on Instagram, as well as EvGuyBoston right here over on Twitter. Make sure to follow me on all of these socials as they rotate through. In terms of the hashtag, so make sure you drop that in the comments. In terms of the hashtag ride of the day, I love the fact that we're also continuing to ride with the person that gets it correct. So if you do get it right, you get multiple shout outs in videos in a row. And we're also doing a cool thing over on the MLB videos, so make sure to check that out. We have the hashtag Daily Dinger, where you can do hashtag Daily Dinger and let me know who you think's going to hit a home run. And then after the fact, so there won't be any losers, shout it out. After the fact, we'll pick one person that does predict it correctly and give you a shout out in the next video. So go ahead and check that out over on the MLB video as well. But yeah, enough ranting. Let's rant some more, but this time about NBA basketball. Let's jump in. We got Charlotte taking on the Golden State Warriors. Charlotte getting 12 points here at home. Total sitting at 218.5. I think the Warriors smoke them in this spot. The problem is 12 points, in my opinion, would be considered them smoking them. But I do think that they're a much better team. And I think they match up fairly well. Like, I don't see how Charlotte's going to, defend either the mid-range or even, the perimeter to some degree in this spot. And then at the rim, I think Golden State's going to be able to get whatever they want. So I'll take the Warriors here and lay the points. Do I make it a final play? Probably not, because this Warriors team has been sort of hot and cold for, I almost want to say, the entire season, right? Sitting in that 10th spot in the Western Conference right now. But they're going to want to start racking up some wins to be able to hopefully, get into the playoffs and make sure that they can play, whether it's play-in or I have to get in an updated standings here in terms of, what wins can do for them. But I expect Charlotte to not really care, Golden State to care. So I'll lay the points in this spot. Total at 218.5. Not my favorite line here. I think this finishes right around 216, 217, so slight lean towards the under, but clearly only by a couple of points. No major player props in this game that I'm loving either, so probably skipping the player props in this spot. Next up, we have the Pacers taking on the Lakers. This is a tough one because I think it's a pretty damn sharp line. And obviously, Anthony Davis and LeBron James listed as questionable, but assuming they play because they're on the injury report all of the time, we're going to assume they play here, I guess. I think I'll take the Lakers plus the points. Similar to what we just talked about with the Warriors, right? Like, you do have the Lakers who want to kind of not be on the bubble in terms of where the standings are, and I think that this is a good matchup for them. Last time, the three most recent times they've played, the Lakers have won these games outright. 2 of them this season. Last game was just a week ago or so, and it was a very close game, 150 to 145. Lakers were favored in that one. It was in LA, and they take it home. Now, I do think the Pacers are going to be a better team at home. They cover in 53% of their games at home here, but for whatever reason, I like the matchup against for the Lakers in this spot. I do think that Pacers defense at the rim, which is where the Lakers, like to score and have a good time scoring, is pretty sufficient. But if this gets out to a run and gun type game, give me the Lakers taking the 3 points, because I think it could be back and forth. Not really an emphasis on the defensive side of things either way. Now, you say that, and you probably think, okay, well, that means I like the over, right? Not necessarily. Like, if we look at these recent games between these two, yes, 150 to 145 last time they played. It was a super fast-paced game, a lot of buckets, right? But the 4 times prior to, these teams hit unders. They've hit 6 unders in their last 10 playing against one another. They do have crazy pace right now. Pacers, second fastest team in the league in the last 10 games. Lakers, fourth. But their transition defense actually ranks amongst some of the better teams in the league. So yes, they're going to run. Yes, they're going to try to. But I don't think they have the most efficient transition games on either side here because of the defense. So if this was like a 233 total, like that's still a high-ish number, yeah, maybe I'd consider the over. But for 243, I'm actually going to take a peek at the under. Maybe it's the crazy spot because of what we've seen from these two teams lately, but yeah, I'm going to lean towards the under. And a player prop I don't mind in this spot is going to be Pascal Siakam over 11.5 rebounds plus assists. I think the volume should be there, averaging over 14 rebound chances per game and 6 potential assists. Last time they played, he hit this in rebounds alone. He had 12 rebounds and 2 assists. It is a decent rebounding team on the Lakers side of things when it comes to rebounding against power forwards, but Pascal Siakam, like I just said, did hit this against them recently. Again, that was in that March 24th game, and I think the volume should be there. Like I said, I expect a decent amount of run and gun, but some missed opportunities, so that bodes well for grabbing some boards. Next up, we're looking at the Magic taking on the Clippers. This Clippers team has just been so freaking confusing as of late. They've only won 4 of their last 10 games. They've only covered in 2 of their last 10. And you have an Orlando team that's playing decent basketball, but they've dropped 2 straight here. Sacramento and Golden State, both West Coast teams coming into town and taking the win. So I'm going to give the Clippers, I guess, one more chance here. Like, because it's 1.5 points, you pretty much a pick them in this spot. I think that the better team, this Orlando team, definitely has some juice, but the Clippers should match up well and should be able to take this win. Last time they played, it was their only meeting this season. They won 118-102, but that was way back in the beginning of the year. But yeah, I'm going to trust the Clippers in the spot, minus the 1.5 points. In terms of a total here, it's not something that I'm loving, but I'm going to take the over because that line is low. And if, you know, we do see any sort of surge in any quarter, like 210.5, being a total, like all you need is one high scoring total quarter, and it can probably bump over that. So I do think the Clippers offense comes to play today as well. So I'll lean towards the over ever so slightly. And then a player prop that I really like, and multiple ways to play it. Paul George here, his points line 21.5. It's a little bit too high. You can actually get 19.5 for like juiced odds over on FanDuel, or 20.5 for decent odds over on BetMGM. But 21.5 makes a little bit of sense to me. I also don't mind his points plus rebounds. He's hit this in 2 straight games against Orlando. He's hit it in 65% of games in his last 20. We're talking his over 25.5 points plus rebounds here, and in 8 of his last 10. And what I like is that this Orlando defense is very good, okay? I'll give him that, and I know that everyone knows that, or you should know that. Very good defense. Where they struggle and where they actually are like one of the worst defenses in the entire league is in the mid-range. Paul George likes that mid-range spot plenty here. You think Kawhi Leonard when you think mid-range, but Paul George actually shooting about 1 mid-range shot more than Paul George in terms of field goal attempts, and have a way better field goal percentage. So he's shooting 56% from mid-range over his last 10 games. Like, if Paul George gets to his spots, we could see a decent amount of points. I like the rebounds in there because he's averaging over 10 rebound chances per game. He had 10 boards last game against Philadelphia. So though the matchup seems tough, he's done it twice in a row, against 2 times in a row against Orlando here, and he's done it in 8 of his last 10. Paul George over 25.5 points plus rebounds definitely has a chance of being a final play. In fact, all of the plays that I just mentioned in this game have a chance of being a final play. But the problem is we have such a big slate. Like, do we really just hammer home 3 plays in one game? We'll see. I've done crazier. All right, guys, before we continue on with the slate, I do want to talk to you about OddsJam. If you are ready to mathematically dismantle any sportsbook out there, you need to be checking out OddsJam and all of the tools they offer to help people like you and me become more profitable sports bettors. We're on the Positive EV screen. They also have tons of tools, like I just said. Positive EV, arbitrage. They have a bet tracker, a sportsbook screen where you can compare literally all plays on all odds on all sportsbooks. Very cool. But we're focusing on the Positive EV screen here today because it's one of my favorite tools. What this does is it identifies missed price lines in the market. For example, Dennis Schroeder under 9.5 rebounds plus assists is plus 108 on FanDuel. If we expand this, you could see it's plus 108 on FanDuel. Average odds, minus 122. So you're getting plus money on FanDuel for a play that on Caesars, minus 127. On MGM, minus 125. On ESPN Bet, minus 125. DraftKings, actually kind of soft as well, but still in the minus. Like, this would be a really good play to go and throw in. And what's great is that if you do want to place it, all you have to do is click this. It'll open up your FanDuel. We're not logged in, but it places it right there. One click bet, guys. Go check out OddsJam. You can use the link in the pinned comment. You get 7 days free. You can also use code GUYBOSTON if you sign up, 25% off. I highly recommend it if you are looking to build your bankroll. This is all about math and how it intertwines into sports betting. Go check it out. I mean, I've done videos, the proof's in the pudding, right? We've done challenges, 7 days, 30-day challenges, arbitrage, positive EV, all green. Like, go check it out, guys. All right, moving on to the Wizards taking on Detroit. This is not necessarily a game in which I care much about, so we'll move through it kind of quickly. Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey on the injury report here. It looks like Jalen Duren is good to go, but no Simone Fontecchio. And then Tyus Jones still out for Washington. Give me the Pistons. I don't really care. I don't envision myself taking it, but I don't really trust Washington laying points here, regardless of how they've been playing. They've won 3 of their last 4 and played a tight one against Brooklyn, but yeah, not really my favorite spot. In terms of a total here, we're looking at a 227.5. I don't envision much defense, so I'll lean towards the over, and that's kind of all I got for you in this game. If you have a play in this game that you're liking, I want you to comment it down below because it's psycho. Out of all the games we have here, you're going to place a bet on Detroit in Washington. You're a psycho, but I love you for it. Let me know if you guys have plays in that game. Give me like a trash emoji or something if you got to play in that game. Next up, we have Brooklyn taking on Chicago, and I wouldn't jump to Chicago too quickly here. It does look like that's the easy side of the bet, but they've only covered in 3 of their last 10 games. Brooklyn in the same boat, but Brooklyn's actually won 2 straight games, yes, against bad teams, Washington, like we talked about in Toronto. But, you know, Brooklyn, I guess you could say, finally starting to get healthy-ish. Still no Cam Johnson, but, you know, their starting lineup is fairly healthy here. Schroeder, Thomas, Bridges, Finney-Smith, and Claxton. Going up against the Chicago team that is kind of beaten and bruised. Caruso and Dosunmu both on the injury report here. It might be a psycho play, but give me Brooklyn here plus the points. I do think that they can actually win this game outright. Do I have the cojones to make this a final play? We'll see. But I really can't get to Chicago too easily like I would have liked to. Like, Chicago likes to score in the paint. Brooklyn actually been pretty good at scoring, preventing players from scoring in the paint. Brooklyn, you know, being able to score at the rim, it's actually a huge weakness of Chicago. So they should win the paint points battle to some degree. Now, you look at that and you say, okay, well, regardless of in the paint, like at the restricted area, in the paint, all that, 2 ways of looking at it. Brooklyn's really good at preventing in the paint. At the restricted area, you know, when it comes to rim protection, they're not all that great, but neither is Chicago when it comes to scoring. Like, Chicago would much rather score in that sort of, you know, inside the free throw line before the restricted area. So I am kind of nitpicking, but I do think that could be a big deal here. Brooklyn should win the rebound battle as well. Like, crazily enough, I think Brooklyn has some angles in this game. Do I love this spot for them? Only because it's Brooklyn? No, but I just can't get myself to Chicago. So yes, kind of crazy, but I'm gonna roll with it in terms of a lean as of right now. In terms of player props here now, Chicago decent at covering the perimeter, but Mikal Bridges has hit 3 or more threes in 6 straight games, and the volume has been there. In his last 5 games here, he's averaging 10.6 attempts from 3. For him to be a 30% shooter, I'll take that. Give me him over 2.5 threes. Like I said, Chicago has been good at getting around the perimeter to some degree lately, but they allow the 2nd most threes per game to opposing players overall this season. So I like that spot. I'd also consider taking a peek at Alex Caruso over 3.5 assists. Pretty juiced, minus 150 on DraftKings right now, but you're looking at minus 220 on Caesars, minus 180 on FanDuel. So though you're paying a hell of a lot of juice, there actually is some value you're getting over on DK, and he's been doing this plenty. He had 7 assists last game. He's hit it in 8 of his last 10. Don't mind that. Now, I know I skipped over the total. I'm going to lean towards the over ever so slightly, but it's definitely not my favorite play in this spot. I actually like Brooklyn, and then the player props I mentioned, and then probably in terms of chance to be a final play, looking at the total. Moving on to Cleveland taking on Philadelphia here. 8 points. First glance seems like it's a little bit too much to lay as Cleveland here, especially with their injuries. But Donovan Mitchell's listed as questionable. Darius Garland listed as probable, so we're going to want to keep an eye on that for sure. Still no Dean Wade for Cleveland, but if Mitchell plays, I'll take Cleveland minus 8. I think that they're the better team. And this Cleveland team, like, they need to ramp it up heading into the playoffs. They went from, with all the injuries they had, they went from the 2nd seed. They're now in the 4th seed here in the East. And obviously, it's a team that wants to ramp up heading into the playoffs. They've lost 4 of their last 5 games. Not playing good basketball, but this Philly team, they aren't either. And they're so beaten and bruised, right? So this could be a good sort of get-right spot for Cleveland 8 points is a little bit too much if Donovan Mitchell doesn't play. I understand that. But yeah, I don't mind the spot for them, actually. In terms of a total, I do think that, the way Cleveland is going to kind of ramp up is, one, yeah, they'll score a decent amount of points, but this is a defensive team and should be viewed as a defensive team. Even Donovan Mitchell doesn't get credit for how good he is defensively. Like, if we flash back before his superstardom, Donovan Mitchell was a mean on-ball defender. Still a good defender, but doesn't get that credit anymore. You obviously have Allen down low. Strus, Mobley, like these guys could play defense. Maybe some of these I'm stretching a little bit, but all that being said, it's the reason I'm leaning towards the under as well. From a player prop perspective, Kelly Oubre's been good as of late. I don't love the matchup today, but he's hit his over PRA in 8 of his last 10. That's the only one that's really, I'm identifying right now. The rest, I don't really love Cleveland side of things because we want to know if Mitchell's playing or not, and if he'll have a minutes restriction or not. But keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we end up having any added plays or anything like that. All right, another game that doesn't really interest me all that much. Did I say interesting me? Whatever. Miami minus 14 going in, playing, or actually at home playing Portland here. I'll lean towards Miami in the under. I think this is a game that if Miami gets pretty aggressive, we could literally see Portland be like, no, they'll roll over and die type of a thing. So I'll lean towards Miami laying the points as well as the under. No player props because of the blowout potential and the fact that it's blowout potential while still being an under. No real player props jumping off the page to me in this spot. All right, OKC taking on Phoenix. This would be such a good game if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is playing. Right now, he's unlikely to play, listed as doubtful. He's not in the starting lineup. Nurkic also listed as questionable here in this spot, so that is worth noting. But yeah, I think I got to chalk it up to Phoenix here if no Shai is playing. I mean, we saw OKC actually looked like they were going to win that game against Houston a few nights back. They end up losing it in overtime, 132 to 126. You just can't trust this team without Shai. Like, that just should be a fact in a sense. So, unfortunately, we're kind of probably going to miss out on what should have been one of the better games here on the slate. Now, I still think it's going to be a good game for sure, but I just don't necessarily see it happening here. A play that I don't mind, and it stinks to fade this guy, but his line's getting up there. Looking at Chet Holmgren here, under 17.5 points. If this is 15.5 like it was, or even 14.5 points this season, I don't mind it. But last time he played, the 2 times he's played them, he had 18 points. That was his over, just barely, right back in November. And then earlier this month, he had 14 points against this Phoenix team. He shot the ball 10 times, made 5 of them, played a normal amount of minutes. Like, this just isn't the best matchup for him. If he's going to sit out there and make threes, then okay, you could convince me of his threes line, but he's not taking that many threes as of late. So if he's going to try and score down low against Nurkic and everything, like, that's a tough body to go through. What I will say is if Nurkic doesn't play, this play kind of goes to kaput. Like, I'm expecting big, mean Nurkic down there to kind of bully Chet Holmgren around. So that's a play that I'm looking at. Other than that, like, again, it should be a very good game, but hard to predict with Shai not in there. So keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we have any added plays. But as of right now, that's kind of the only player prop that I could see an angle on, regardless of if Shai plays. Now, I don't think Shai's playing. He's listed as doubtful. So, with that being said, I should be looking into this with the mindset that Shai's not playing, but just nothing really jumping off the page to me. I know you guys love me saying that. All right, before we jump into this game, go ahead and comment 18 if you made it this far into the video. Be much appreciated, guys. I love seeing who makes it this far because that means, where is it? Right there. You're not a guppy, right? So go ahead and comment 18 if you made it this far in the video. I think that might have been the same number that we did for the MLB video, so maybe the stars are aligning today. We got a good betting day on our hands, but we shall see. But we got San Antonio taking on New York in this spot. San Antonio getting 9 points makes sense, though New York still is not healthy. We see New York's not healthy. We see a San Antonio team that's also not very healthy. Keldon Johnson doubtful in this one. Wembanyama is in, and I think we're finally going to retire. I know a lot of you guys are like, finally going to retire the Victor Wembanyama over 2.5 first quarter rebounds. But I could look at his over rebounds plus assists. The guy's averaging 17 rebound chances per game and 7 potential assists. So there is certainly volume here for him to be able to hit this. So that's a player prop that we lean right away. But I'm going to lay the points with New York in this spot. I just obviously am not impressed much by the San Antonio team. New York, as beaten and bruised they are, they've won 8 of their last 10 games. They've covered in 7 of those. Like, this is a good team with or without Randall. And it's because, you know, they have Brunson, DiVincenzo stepped up, Hartenstein, like this is just a good basketball team as of right now. There's a reason why they overtook the Cavs in the 3 spot right now in the East, right? So give me them minus the points. I guess it's pretty easy to say now, they've gotten used to playing without Joel Embiid, right? But without Julius Randle. I think they've gotten used to playing without Joel Embiid as well. Gotta love it. But give them minus the points. In terms of a total, I'll lean towards the under here, just because I do think that the Knicks are going to be able to suppress anything that San Antonio throws at them from a scoring perspective. So that total's low for a reason, but I can't help but agree with where it is. All right, so Denver takes on Minnesota here. I sigh when I say it because I wish we had a final injury report or who's in, who's out, but like, both the team's best players right now, Anthony Davis and Rudy Gobert, listed as questionable. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, listed as questionable. So that's unfortunate. We saw these two teams play a couple nights back, or 10 days ago. So it was in Minnesota, and Denver wins that one by 3 points. Minnesota did end up covering, but if everyone's healthy here, I like Denver at home. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. They're obviously a really good home team when it comes to covering at home. Now, they've had some big numbers, but they've still covered in more than half their games at home here. Minnesota on the road, not terrible, but nothing that I'm really going to try and get behind and back. If Cat was in this game, which he's been out for a while, I do think that it could go a little bit differently, but if we're looking at a catless Minnesota Timberwolves team, I do think Denver is, kind of just the better team overall. 6.5 points is a lot of points to lay, so I get that if you don't like it. But again, you have a banged up Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert, even if they do play. That being said, Jamal Murray and Jokic also both banged up. But nonetheless, give me Denver in this spot. In terms of a total, looking at 212, it's a little bit, it's a low line, I would say. I think that one's obvious, and I think that this is a little bit too low. I don't think this is a barn burner type game, but I could see it getting to near 220, so I'll lean towards the over as well. Like I said, last time they played, 115 to 112. They've cashed 5 overs in their last 10 here, which doesn't seem like it's that much, but they're 3-1-1 in their last 5 against one another to the over, against one another. So definitely something worth considering there. Jamal Murray, last time he played, this Minnesota team had 11 assists. I could see him going over 6.5 again. I think that he's a decent matchup. I don't mind his over 31.5 PRA, though. He's hit that 9 of his last 10 now. Minnesota's a very good defense. We know that, but Murray can make it happen multiple ways. In terms of his last 10 games here, averaging 13 potential assists, 9 rebound chances, and he's shooting the ball nearly 20 times. That's a recipe for stats, no matter how you want to get it, right? So I don't mind his over PRA either. All right, next up, Utah taking on the Rockets. We jump right into the injury report here because no Jordan Clarkson. He's been banged up. And then Lauri Markkanen's questionable, and that's going to be a huge factor in this game. If Markkanen plays, I like Utah plus a 7. If he doesn't, I probably pass on this. You guys know that I really don't trust Houston on the road, and I like Utah at home. So you have two teams that one's good at home, bad on the road. I guess they're both like that, right? Both good at home, bad on the road. But one's home, one's away in this spot, right? So I'll take Utah plus a 7 points for the sake of argument right now, but I want to see Lauri Markkanen play. But if he doesn't play and this line jumps even more from him not playing, it could be a final play, even though Utah has been abysmal. I understand they've lost 9 of their last 10 games. They haven't covered in any games here, and Houston is maybe the hottest team in the NBA right now, like almost unarguably hottest team in the NBA right now. I just can't trust them on the road. Now, they beat the Thunder on the road. No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They beat Washington on the road. Big deal. They beat Portland, and they beat San Antonio. And then, yes, okay, I'll give you credit. They beat Sacramento on the road, but this has not been a battle-tested road team. I'm not ready to throw that thought out yet. So I'll take Utah here plus the points. I'm not saying they win the game, but I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. I know a lot of people are going to be like, that is so dumb. One of the coldest teams taking on one of the hottest teams in the league. But that's the genius here, guys. I can already picture like the score, this didn't age well, and it's like Houston wins 120 to 84. But give me Utah, guys, in this spot. I've done crazier. I got to stop saying that. Total sitting at 230 right now. I'll take the over 234. This is a Houston team that's surprisingly playing with decent pace, and we know Utah at home can score a decent amount of points here, so I like the over as well. From a player prop perspective, we want to wait out those injuries, so nothing really that I'm loving as of right now at all. Next up, we got Sacramento taking on Dallas. This should be an awesome game as there's playoff implications to some degree. You know, Sacramento 8th, Dallas in the 6th spot. Dallas winning the matchup a few nights back, 132-96. I do think Sacramento bounces back in a decent way in this game. Does that mean they end up winning the game? Not so sure. I'm going to lean in that direction, but I do think the Mavs, like, they're playing some basketball, some legitimate basketball here. They've won 9 of their last 10, but it's hard to beat a team that you match up fairly well against twice in a row. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards this. But if you're on the Dallas side of things, I was on that literally, 2 nights ago, right? Like, I see your point, and I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. But Sacramento should be able to bounce back in this spot here. From a player prop perspective, I'm going to jump right into one that I liked last game, and he hit in I think he only played 30 minutes, which I say only, but he's actually a guy that plays 35 plus. De'Aaron Fox, he had 5 rebounds. I like that spot. He's averaging nearly 10 rebound chances, and I like the matchup against Dallas here, especially with a total over 230, a lot of run and gunning going. De'Aaron Fox definitely loves to grab a rebound and then be one of the fastest guys in the world down the court, right? So that's going to have this opportunity plenty here. So I think he's going to go for a few more rebounds. Give me him over 4.5. Now, I just mentioned the total being a high total. I do think that, there's a little bit of a defense, edge to this game as well. So, though I think this one gets up near the 230s, I see it capping out at like 228 or so. So, I'll slightly lean towards the under as well. And guys, it's going to wrap for today's show. Hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. And we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.